only 1% dark chosen ones can handle these extremely rare night powers. Most people will never understand what happens in the night. Not the physical night when the sun sets and the city sleeps, but the spiritual night, the realm where light does not reach, where the subconscious becomes the battlefield, and where truth doesn't whisper, it screams. This isn't the kind of darkness that's talked about in cute spiritual memes or poetic metaphors. This is the initiation zone. And only the 1%, the true dark chosen ones, are built to hold what lives here, because what we're about to explore isn't for the curious. It's for the coded. The ones who didn't ask to be different, but were born with a frequency too disruptive for the ordinary world. If you're still watching, still breathing, still feeling this pulling something ancient up your spine, then you already know. This isn't entertainment, it's activation. There are powers that can only be accessed in the night field, not when you're meditating under a waterfall or doing breathwork on a retreat, but when you're alone, shaking, questioning your sanity, staring into the abyss of your own soul at 3:03 IEM. These powers don't come through light, they come through pressure. Through collapse, through confrontation with everything you've buried, and the first extremely rare night power is called the Veilbreaker. This isn't a gift, it's a curse until you learn how to wield it. Veilbreakers are those who cannot unknow what they see. Their third eye isn't something they turned on, it's something that never shut off. They see through people's words, through systems, through illusions, but the cost, they also see through themselves. The lies, the masks, the personas. They carry no buffer between reality and perception, and until they learn to ground that vision, they walk through life overwhelmed, hyper-aware and misunderstood.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
If you are a Veilbreaker, you've probably been told you're too intense, too paranoid, too much. You've probably questioned if you're just broken, but you're not. You're coded to detect distortion, and the reason it hurts is because you haven't yet learned to trust what you see. That's the key. Veilbreakers must stop gaslighting themselves. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to decode, but you must learn discernment. Not everything is a threat. Not every shadow is a demon. You have to learn how to see without reacting, to observe without absorbing. That's when the power unlocks, when your vision becomes surgical, when you can walk into a room and know exactly what's off, but stays centered. That's when you become dangerous, in the best way. The second rare night power is called the Sleepless Flame. These are souls who carry a kind of internal fire that never shuts off. Even in rest, even in sleep, even in silence, they are working on levels others can't see. Their energy is constantly processing, clearing, transmuting frequencies for themselves and for others. They're the ones who can't sleep for nights on end during planetary shifts, the ones who wake up exhausted, not because they didn't rest, but because they were active on the astral. These are the spiritual warriors who train in dimensions that most people don't even believe exist. And the price? Burnout, emotional volatility, chronic fatigue. Because they haven't learned how to manage the flame. If this is you, you already know it. You've probably been called an overthinker or hypersensitive or someone who never relaxes. But here's what no one told you. You were never meant to relax in the traditional sense. Your nervous system is not broken, it's expanded. You're running more bandwidth than most humans. And the key is not to shut it down, it's to direct it. Sleepless flames must learn spiritual energy management. That means cycles of intentional rest, not numbing. That means creative expression that burns off the excess. That means learning how to ground cosmic fire into physical form. If you don't, the fire will consume you, but if you do, you become unstoppable. A living beacon of transmutation. A walking alchemist. The third night power is the Dreamwalker. These are the ones who do not sleep like normal people. Their dreams are not dreams, they are missions. They travel, they receive messages, they meet beings, they witness timelines, and often they wake up with information they never consciously learned. Dreamwalkers are not just intuitive, they are interdimensional. And here's the crazy part, most of them have no idea they're doing it, because the world taught them to ignore dreams, to forget them, to dismiss them as fantasy. But for dreamwalkers, the dream realm is more real than the waking world. They are the ones who can collapse timelines, alter events, and retrieve soul fragments from other dimensions. If they remember, if you're a dreamwalker, your first step is to stop forgetting. Keep a dream journal. Track your patterns. Learn the symbology of your own subconscious architecture. Your dreams are not random. They're maps, and once you start following them, you'll begin to see how they connect your real life with surgical precision. You'll start to receive codes, warnings, instructions. But here's the trick. Dreamwalking is not just about receiving, it's about responding. You must take action on what you're shown. Otherwise, the portal closes, the power fades. The night will test you with silence until you prove you're listening. Now, I want you to ask yourself something few dare to ask. What if your greatest gift has been misdiagnosed your entire life as a dysfunction? What if the anxiety, the insomnia, the weird dreams, the emotional overloads, what if these were not flaws, but symptoms of power you haven't learned to hold yet? This is why only 1% can handle these rare night powers, not because they're reserved for the elite, but because most people won't survive the level of self-honesty required to hold them. Night powers strip you bare. They demand you face your full spectrum, not just the light you've cultivated, but the chaos you've hidden. Every one of these powers comes with a cost, and only those who are willing to pay it, not in money but in identity death, can truly activate. And here's the secret. If you've made it this far, if you're still here, still feeling this in your bones, you already carry one of them, maybe more. The darkness has already marked you, and the night knows your name. The secret currents of the astral underground, where the real power hides. There's a hidden layer beneath the spiritual world most people know. Beneath the mantras, beneath the crystals, beneath the workshops and yoga poses. It's not lit by candlelight or wrapped in white robes. It's not peaceful. It's alive, pulsing, shifting. It's the astral underground, a dimension of forgotten truths, secret codes, and raw spiritual technology that only the dark chosen ever stumble into, not by accident, but by collapse. Because you don't find the astral underground, you fall into it when everything else breaks. And once you're in, you'll never see the universe the same way again. This is where the next layer of rare night powers lives. powers that don't come from lineage or training, but through remembering, deep cellular remembering, ancient soul memory that activates only when you've been stripped of your normal identity. This is the realm of primordial knowing. Most people spend their lives trying to gather knowledge, but the Dark Chosen, we're asked to unlearn, to forget what the world taught us in order to remember what our soul encoded long before this lifetime. You feel it, don't you? That strange nostalgia for something you've never seen with your eyes. That ache in your bones when you hear certain words or symbols or frequencies. That's not coincidence, that's recognition. You're sensing the current of the astral underground trying to pull you back to your source. The fourth rare night power is called the Codekeeper. These are souls who carry fragments of ancient blueprints, truths that were buried, encrypted, hidden across timelines by forces that feared their liberation. Codekeepers often feel like they're haunted by patterns. They see symbols everywhere, numbers, animals, sequences. They dream in languages they don't speak. They feel drawn to ancient civilizations, star systems, or sacred texts without knowing why. But here's the key. A Codekeeper doesn't just receive codes, they transmit them through their presence, through their voice, through their art, their writing, their creations. They carry frequencies that awaken others without needing to explain how or why. If you're a Codekeeper, your challenge is to stop doubting your own resonance. You don't need permission to speak what you know. You don't need credentials to carry what you're here to deliver. The codes don't come from your mind, they come from beyond it. And the more you try to make them make sense, the more you'll distort them. Your job is not to translate them for the world to accept. Your job is to embody them until the world adjusts its frequency to meet you. That's leadership in the astral underground. Not loud, not flashy, but resonant. If you've ever felt like your words were ahead of their time, or like people couldn't quite handle your truth, it's because you're speaking from the future. And that's exactly what the world needs now. The fifth night power is the Gatewalker. These are the ones who can move between dimensions at will. Their consciousness is not bound to the physical. They can slip into other realms, timelines, or energetic layers with fluidity. But here's the twist. Most Gatewalkers don't realize they're doing it. They think they're zoning out, dissociating, daydreaming. But what's really happening is their soul is traveling, exploring, gathering intel. Gatewalkers often struggle with staying present because their definition of presence is multidimensional. They're constantly bridging worlds. And the cost? Feeling split, misunderstood, like they're never fully here. If you're a Gatewalker, your work is to integrate, to learn how to bring what you find in other realms back into this one, to not just visit higher dimensions, but to anchor them into your body. This is why grounding is not optional for you. It's spiritual survival. You are a messenger between worlds, but if you don't root that energy in the physical, you'll burn out. You'll drift. You'll start to resent this reality instead of transforming it. Gatewalking is not escapism, it's engineering. You're here to retrieve technologies, emotional, energetic, visionary, and turn them into tools that work here. The future needs you present. Not floating, not hiding, but embodied. Now let me ask you something that might change how you see everything. What if your most unstable traits are actually training grounds for your real mission? What if your sensitivity, your mood swings, your inability to stay grounded What if these aren't flaws but side effects of untrained gifts? Because the truth is, the astral underground doesn't come with a manual. It teaches you through chaos, through symptoms, through contrast. It doesn't give you answers. It activates you through experiences. And only those who stop trying to escape the discomfort and instead dive into it ever discover the treasures buried inside. This is where the true dark chosen ones rise, not in the spotlight, not with spiritual accolades, but in the quiet hours of the night, when the rest of the world sleeps and we're face to face with our own wildness. The astral underground doesn't want your perfection, it wants your presence. Your willingness to stay in the void long enough to hear what's actually being asked of you. And when you do, you become something different. Not just awakened, not just empowered, but entrusted. Entrusted with frequencies that can shift timelines, with codes that can unlock human potential, with guidance that comes not from books, but from the fabric of reality itself. This is why only 1% can handle these night powers, because they're not for the ego, they're not for display, they're tools of transformation, and they demand everything from you, your illusions, your pride, your need to belong. But in exchange, they give you sovereignty. Now, that sovereignty is the key to unlocking the final 2 night powers, the ones that don't just alter your life, but alter fate itself. The architects of destiny, how dark chosen ones rewrite fate from the shadows. There's a moment in every dark chosen one's journey where the path splits, not in front of you, but inside of you. It's the moment when you realize you're no longer walking a path that was laid out for you by family, society, or even spiritual tradition. You're walking a path that you're building as you go, brick by brick, frequency by frequency, choice by choice. That's when you stop being a seeker and become something else entirely, an architect of destiny. Not someone who waits for fate to unfold, not someone who begs the universe for signs, but someone who reaches into the unseen, grabs the threads of potential, and weaves reality into form. And this is where we unlock the final 2 night powers, the rarest, most volatile, and most sacred of all. The 6th night power is the timeline sculptor. These are not just intuitive souls, they are timeline tacticians. They feel when a choice will ripple into chaos or clarity. They sense when a conversation is a pivot point in someone's evolution. They can look at a person or situation and feel the probabilities hovering around them like ghosts. A timeline sculptor doesn't just make decisions, they design outcomes. Whether they're aware of it or not, their thoughts, emotions, and even casual words begin to shape events. This is why their lives are often marked by extreme polarities, because when they're unconscious, their energy amplifies distortion, but when they're awake, they become walking portals of intentional creation. If you are a timeline sculptor, your greatest weapon is clarity. Not overthinking, not control, but resonant clarity. You must learn to sit with a decision, not just mentally, but energetically. Feel into it. Ask yourself, which version of me does this choice feed? Most people operate reactively. You don't have that luxury. Your energy is too strong to be random. Every small misalignment echoes outward. You've probably already noticed this. A lie, a compromise, a forced yes it always comes back louder. That's not punishment, that's feedback. And your job is to listen, to treat your life like a sacred equation where every variable matters, because when you align, you don't just shift your own future, you start to bend probability itself. Then there's the seventh and final night power, the one that terrifies both the light and the dark because it cannot be controlled, contained, or predicted. It's the fate disruptor. These are the souls who are born to break patterns that have existed for generations, ancestral curses, collective loops, karmic contracts. The fate disruptors carry an energy that says, "It ends with me." But the cost is everything. Because to disrupt fate, you must first stand in the middle of it. You must feel it fully, embody it, rage against it, surrender to it, and then rewrite it from within. This is not a glamorous path. It's brutal, lonely, often thankless. These are the black sheep, the cycle breakers, the ones who feel like they never belonged anywhere, and they don't, because they're not here to belong, they're here to dismantle. If you're a fate disruptor, your pain is not proof that you're broken, it's proof that you're holding a pattern bigger than yourself. Your trauma didn't start with you, but it can end with you. And when you accept that mission, everything changes. You stop trying to heal in the way others do. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You realize you are the event. You are the rupture. You are the revolution. You are the and that's when your power unlocks. Because the moment you stop running from your story and start rewriting it in real time, you become a walking disruption to everything that came before you. Systems don't know what to do with you. People either idolize or demonize you, but none of that matters anymore, because you've stepped into the one role that can't be faked, taught, or inherited: Fate Hacker. Let me ask you something that only a true dark chosen one will be able to answer honestly. What would you do if you knew the destiny you were born into was never meant to contain you? Would you still try to fix it? Or would you burn it down and build something entirely new? That's the final threshold. Not enlightenment, not peace, but sovereign reconstruction. You are not here to play the game of life. You are here to reprogram it from the source code. That's why the night called you. That's why you were thrown into the fire, not to be purified, but to remember you are the fire. And when you walk with these powers, when you hold them with humility, with presence, with precision, you become something else entirely. You're no longer just healing. You're no longer just manifesting. You're rewriting the laws that govern reality itself, and you do it not from a temple, not from a stage, but from the shadows. Quietly, relentlessly, divinely. Because you never needed recognition, you only needed remembrance. The final trial, why most collapse right before the night gifts are fully awakened. There's a threshold where most people turn back, not because they're weak, not because they're undeserving, but because the final trial before full awakening feels like annihilation. It's not poetic, it's not graceful, it's violent. On a soul level, it's the storm before the soul stabilizes. It's the moment just before the dark chosen one becomes fully online. And here's the paradox. The closer you are to unlocking your rare night gifts, the more your reality begins to fracture. Not because you're failing, but because the false structures can no longer hold who you're becoming. This is the part of the journey no one celebrates. The part where you lose relationships that once felt like lifelines, where your nervous system can't tell the difference between expansion and danger, where your dreams get darker, your body breaks down, your mind starts spinning with questions like, am I cursed? Am I crazy? Am I lost beyond return? But what's actually happening is this. You're being recalibrated. The old, energetic architecture of your identity is shattering to make room for something limitless. And the only thing required of you in this moment is to not run. You have to understand this final trial isn't a mistake. It's initiation by design. The night powers are not handed out like rewards. They are earned through capacity. Can you hold intensity without numbing? Can you sit in uncertainty without reaching for distraction? Can you exist in the void long enough to become the bridge between what was and what could be? Because that's what this trial is, a sacred test of energetic integrity. Not perfection, not purity, but presence, even when everything inside you wants to disappear. I'll tell you something I've never shared publicly. Every time I've leveled up spiritually, it looked like a breakdown, a loss, a death. I thought I was failing when I was actually shedding. That's the hidden design of the night powers. They don't ask for your comfort, they ask for your truth. And only when you've given up every mask, every coping mechanism, every identity you built to survive, only then do the gifts activate, because now they're no longer filtered through your ego. They're clean, direct, unstoppable. This is also why most people collapse right before the breakthrough, because they were told awakening would feel like peace. But for the dark chosen ones, it often begins with war, an internal war between the part of you terrified to die and the part of you desperate to finally live. And the war ends only when you stop choosing sides. When you realize both sides are you. Both deserve to be loved. Both are part of your becoming. And once you sit in that space, raw, uncertain, whole, you begin to feel it. The shift, subtle at first, a lightness, a clarity, a knowing. The dreams return, but this time they're decoded. The visions come back, but they're stable. Your body softens. Your nervous system recalibrates. You're still intense, still sensitive, still different, but now you're anchored. You're awake, not just spiritually, but energetically sovereign. You've crossed the threshold. You can feel it in your bones. And here's the final truth. Once your night powers are fully awakened, you don't become more special, you become more responsible. Because now, every word you speak, every choice you make, every frequency you emit ripples through the collective. You're not just influencing your life, you're influencing realities. And that's the hidden cost of these gifts. You don't get to operate unconsciously anymore. You don't get to bypass. You know too much now. You've seen behind the veil. You've touched the source code. So what do you do with that power? You don't flaunt it. You live it, quietly, with precision, with reverence. You become the one the world never sees coming. The one who walks through darkness, not to escape it, but to rebuild it from within. The one who no longer seeks light, but becomes it, by holding the night. And that's what makes you the 1%. You didn't just survive the night, you became it.